It's early spring in Saltsjöbaden, just outside of Stockholm, Sweden. At the boatyard it's still quiet before the start of the summer season, but inside, in one of the hangars, there is a well-kept secret. The construction of Artemis Racing's America's Cup yacht, the yacht that will be raced in 2017, is underway in earnest.
We're here in Saltsjöbaden to build the hulls and the bows of the AC50 for Artemis Racing because the America's Cup rules require that the challenging country need to build at least the bow portion of the boat, which is the bolt-on portion at the front of the boat, approximately 3 metres long in the country of origin. The boat is primarily constructed out of 150 gram and 300 gram uni fibres, and as far as the hulls are concerned, the shape is one design, meaning every team will have exactly the same shaped hull. There are a couple of changes within the rule that you are allowed to play with, so we covered a couple of things up for when you were filming, but generally speaking, for the general spectator, you will think that they all look the same.
Building a competitive America's Cup yacht takes patience and millimeter precision. Once all the components are ready, they are put into a gigantic special oven that has been shipped over the Atlantic from San Francisco to Saltsjöbaden.
It is actually an oven that we've modified from the previous America's Cup that the 72 footer was built in. It's 4 electric burners that are basically cooking the hull between 85 to 90 degrees Celsius. And when it's not an oven, it's a temperature controlled environment that the boys are working in laminating. So it goes from being air conditioned and humidity controlled to then when we want to cook, we turn the burners on and we start curing at between 85 and 90 degrees Celsius.
Artemis Racing has previously built 2 prototype boats called Turbo 1 and Turbo 2 to test and develop innovations. These development boats are 45 feet long, but the final America's Cup boat being built in Saltsjöbaden will be nearly 50 feet in length. At this critical time of the campaign, there is no room for mistakes in either design or construction, since every challenger, according to the rules, is only allowed to build one final boat that will be used for racing.
Everything's got to be very precise. There are lots of control measures that we put in place. The materials we're using are very temperature sensitive, humidity sensitive. If you do not take care when you're using these materials, you can have catastrophic failures. And when I say that, I mean that you will have a part that will be unusable. We've just got to make sure that it's built correctly to the plans specified and make sure that we don't make a mistake along the way.
Artemis Racing has reached a sponsorship agreement with insurance giant Argo Group. Starting at the next Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series event in New York, the official partner's logo will adorn the team's America's Cup boats and clothing. Artemis Racing's pair Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen won a silver medal at the European Championships in the 49er Olympic class. Winners of the Open Championships were Emirates Team New Zealand's pair Peter Burling and Blair Tuke, claiming their 25th straight regatta win in the class. But just in a few months' time, Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen will have the chance to get their revenge at the Olympic Games taking place in Rio de Janeiro in August. It's all about quick reactions when sailing fast foiling catamarans. When Artemis Racing and Oracle Team USA recently trained against each other on the Great Sound in Bermuda, they got a little too close for comfort. When helmsman Tom Slingsby of Oracle was switching sides in a jibe, Artemis Racing suddenly showed up on their port side. Slingsby and backup helmsman Andrew Campbell managed to avoid a collision at the last second.
I think the sailing is a bit of escapism, just getting out there sailing. But for me, the real intensity comes when we're racing, going out there and getting better at something. And there's always room for improvement. There's always room to get better at whatever you do. And when you're not out there getting better, it's for me, it's very frustrating.
Paul Goodison knows what it's like to have to fight back after a disappointment to achieve his goals. In 2004, he was one of the favorites in the laser class at the Olympic Games in Athens. But after a mistake in the last race, he finished a disappointing fourth, missing out on the bronze medal by just 1 point. However, that mistake made Paul Goodison go home and train harder to become even better. And 4 years later, he was back at the Olympics in Beijing to bring home gold for Great Britain.
I think looking back at the Olympics in Beijing is, I guess it's just a bit of a proud moment, but it's more so of just a recognition that all the effort and all the things that we did in the campaign actually came together and it all worked. And I think it's more of a bigger achievement than just a single achievement. For me, the laser sailing was never really about the speed and the adrenaline. It was about the racing. There's kind of no other fleet in the world where you get 140, 150 boats at the World Championships, all at a very high level racing on a short course. So you're never much further than maybe 10, 15 meters away from the nearest boat. So then moving over to the foiling stuff, it is a lot more exhilarating through the sheer speed you're achieving. But the racing, I guess, the fine art of the tactics is very different from laser sailing. So they're both quite exhilarating, but in different ways.
The transition from sailing a one-person laser to the flying catamarans has been a big step. To continue developing and gaining a better understanding of the characteristics of these America's Cup boats, part of the training here in Bermuda includes sailing smaller foiling boats like the Yacht and Nacra.
The new generation of sailing is foiling, and to get out and do a lot of days in the turbos and in the 45F is kind of not very realistic because there's a lot of man hours involved in getting the boat ready, getting it out on the water. But you can upskill so much faster in these little small boats. They're a lot more sensitive than the big boats, and it is foiling. So it's all very relevant to sailing the bigger boat. But they're kind of a lot more twitchy, and all the fine movements make a much bigger difference than they do in the big boat. So it translates quite well.
He's a very smooth sailor on the water. One of the things I've been impressed with is his steering technique, particularly upwind. Very smooth, very able to feel the boat's loading. I think from years of small boat sailing, he's got the reaction skills. And so he's becoming very much a polished helmsman in the America's Cup. I think with time he needs to learn the match racing side and the racing elements, which he will get the opportunity to here at Artemis. But at the moment he's I would say, an unpolished diamond.
It is all very new to me being in such a big team with such a diverse amount of goals. It was back in my Olympic campaign very much all quite self-driven about how you achieve your goals and going forward to that. But this is a much bigger team. It's quite hard initially to get your head round and it is sometimes quite tough to deal with. But at the end of the day, we are in this as a team and we all want to win the America's Cup.
In the next episode of Artemis Racing Road to Bermuda, we will travel to New York for the second Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series event of the year.